Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. I'm Laura Shera, your host for today. Before we get started, I have a great guest. I would like to thank our sponsors of the podcast, Connecticut, the Minnesota DNR, Star Bank, and North Dakota Tourism. We thank you for supporting our podcast today. And I'm excited for this podcast because I have a special guest joining me today. Not only is he a guest, he's also a good friend. And his name is Cartrell Cooper, and he is the founder and owner of Big D's Dog Training. Cartrell, how are you doing?
You know what? I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me, Laura.
Yeah, thanks for joining me today. And the reason I reached out to you specifically to talk about dog training tips, advice, obedience, etc., is two things. It's a very popular time in spring and summer for many people to purchase or adopt new hunting dogs that they want to do a lot of basic obedience stuff before they take them out in the field the first fall as young ones. And also, due to COVID, many people have adopted or purchased puppies because they're at home and they feel that they have more time to be with the dog and take care of the dog, etc. And the question is, how many people are out there actually training their dogs and doing the obedience and things that they need to do to make sure we have good canine citizens out there? So I am excited to chat with you. I personally purchased a puppy myself, Bacon 2, my little French bulldog, and he is 5 months old right now, and I'm working on some obedience training. And the other day I told my boyfriend, Dan, I'm like, I need to take one of Cartrell's class myself. And I've done a significant amount of basic training myself, but it's a good refresher just to come back and learn some of the tips and tricks when you have a new puppy again. So
have you started working your hold and fetch command with your Frenchie?
Yes, exactly. Because they're such people pleasers, those French bulldogs. They're so easy to train, which is completely being sarcastic. They're not, but they are funny. So Cartrell, let's start out with what is basic obedience training? What is it?
You know, basic obedience training over the years has evolved to what people look at today, and basically all you're doing is opening up the lines of communication between you and your dog. When your dog comes home from the litter or a breeder, the information that they have going for them is only the information that the mother provided. Yes, the breeder might have interacted with them, and yes, they might have petted them and done some care, and some of them have gone to the point of doing some potty training so that they're scheduled so that they have less accidents in your house. But basic obedience is truly teaching the words that the dog needs to follow. Whether it be heel, sit, stay, down, and come, which you'll see those as common building block words that people use in order to train their dogs. But what you're basically doing when you teach those words is you're teaching your dog how to follow direction from you. You're teaching your dog in an emergency situation, this is the words that I might need to use in order to have you do something. And when the dog starts having that understanding of what you're talking about, they don't get the blah, 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 oh, a treat. Rather than they have something to follow, they have some direction to follow, and it makes it easier for the human to have an interactive, positive animal in their household when they're able to communicate with it.
So what is the right age to start using some of those commands and working with your puppies? Because some people, at 12 weeks may think that their puppy is ready to go to learn those commands, and sometimes people think they need to wait. What is the right age?
That's a great question. And the right age is the day that you bring them home, no matter what age the dog is. The difference between training and working with a puppy and working with an older dog is your personal expectation. If you have an 8 to 12 week old puppy, you put them in your hands and you tell them sit, you tuck their little legs and put them in the sit position. As soon as you let go, you say, okay, you are physically showing that dog what the commands mean. So therefore, they're little sponges. Their instincts are telling them to figure out life, to investigate, to smell around, and to do whatever the environment tells them to do in order to survive. So you might as well be participating in their survival skills early on to make it easier for them rather than waiting to train them later. Back in the late 60s, early 70s, there was a lot of literature out there, wait till a dog was a year of age. And those books were written by field trial guys that would break train an animal, which means that they would use some really, really harsher type training techniques, using an e-collar to start out with and some other type of break techniques in order to break a dog into training, rather than taking the puppy from day one and start giving them the commands that you want them to follow and show them what those commands mean. It makes it a whole lot easier on as the dog progresses in age.
For sure. And I like that you had the word expectation in there of what you expect from a puppy because puppies do have short attention spans. And I think patience is really key with when you have a young dog on learning the sit or the stay or the come or all those things, just because their attention is, all of a sudden they see something to the right and they're going to the right. So would you say patience is really key with really young dogs and not getting frustrated and maybe keeping training time limited, or what do you suggest?
The fun part about the patient side is you have to convince the human to be patient.
That's right.
When it comes to training, the dog really doesn't care what it's doing. Whatever is moving, whatever is active, whatever is the next thing to do is what the dog is going to do. So when it comes to patience, with that young dog, my training cycle, like I have a 5-month-old puppy too myself right now, and my training cycles are not even a minute long. I put him in sit, okay, he's bouncing around doing whatever he wants to do. I go 5 to 15 minutes later, I give another command, boom, he's in it's 2 seconds and he's on his way doing something else. The difference being is as I do the repetitions now over the last 3.5 months, I say the command word and he's popping into the command because it's just second nature because I've been patient along the way. I haven't had to force him to do it, and I haven't had to get, my repetition is going to increase as he gets older, but my expectation to have him do it, I'm just showing him what I want. I don't expect him to do it as a puppy.
Ah, good advice. Really good advice. And you mentioned something about the word positive presentation training. What is that?
Positive presentation training is the exact same way that the mother trains a puppy. When you look at the fox, the coyote, the wolf, a fox can leave her puppies in the den, go for 12 to 14 hours, and those puppies do not come out of that den until they tell her to. So when you look at how the mother shows them how to do that, she presents what she wants, and she gives them a no command when she doesn't want them to do something. But that no command has started out as day one. When the puppies were nursing, she'd give them a no command, which would include a whine, cry, or growl, and a bite or a pressure on the puppy, showing them this is what this word means, and the puppy learns that. When the human gets that animal, you've heard positive reinforcement training. Well, if you go to reinforcement, there's that force side that people gravitate to, so they're forcing their dogs to try to do something. If you do positive presentation training, it eliminates the guesswork for your dog as well as it builds their behavior by presentation versus building their behavior by oftentimes bribery.
Okay, so can you give me an example of how that would work with maybe use the sit command? How would you use positive presentation that way?
Positive, that's a good one to use. If you look at your dog has angles in their knees, for example. If you take your hand and stroll your hand down your dog's back, and even though your Frenchie may not have a tail, but where the nub comes into the butt, if you press that down, your dog naturally wants to bend its knees. It's just a natural reflex. So if you have your dog naturally bend its knees, it takes no pressure to tell them to sit. So they naturally bend their knees. You say sit, and you light pressure, no more pressure than if you're trying to push your finger through a piece of paper towel, and the dog goes into sit position. As soon as their bum goes down to the ground, good dog, good sit. Now you've shown them what you want them to do by presentation versus taking a treat over the top of their head and holding that treat up. What happens is that dog will be looking at that treat above them. Their body wants to go into the sit position, but they're not sitting because you showed them. They're sitting because it's easier for them to visually see that treat. So what happens is you're not teaching the sit command. That's why when a person goes and they treat train their dog and they might go to the park and they tell their dog to sit and they go, well, it does it at home. Yep, it does it at home because you're standing over it with the treat and it hasn't been shown what you want it to do. It's just been doing it.
Oh, interesting. So how do you do that with the down command? Because I think that's a little trickier with, and it may not be tricky. I should just say I don't know how to use the positive presentation with the down command because I've been working on that with Bacon and we've been struggling a little bit.
Okay, so picture this, if you will. Have Bacon in a sit position, okay? Now, you'll probably be on your knees because Bacon is a lower to the ground dog. Take your arm and just rest it on his withers, okay?
Got it.
and just put your hand on his withers and just leave it there
Oh, okay.
with just the weight alone. What will happen is your bacon will naturally lay down, and as he's going down, you say down. What you're doing is you're taking a physical position of presentation that the mother would do to a puppy within the litter. She would take a leg and put it over the shoulders and push the dog down into the position and growl at him and hold him there. Or when she's nursing them, she would do the exact same thing. She would put her arm or leg on them or move them with their mouth, causing those reactions. So you can take your physical position and do the exact same thing with the dog by your own personal actions. It's not about force, it's about presentation. A lot of times a person would have taught in the back in the day of teaching the down command, they would take their hand, put it behind the shoulder blades, and just try to shove that dog down to the ground. And as soon as they push hard, what it causes the dog to do is resist that pressure. Well, by resisting that pressure, all you're doing is causing the dog to fight you. If you put your arm over the shoulder, actually, with light pressure, they just naturally want to go down because mother has done that in the litter. Other puppies have done that to them. It's one of those natural responses that they've already learned to do as puppies.
That is so true because if you watch puppies play and even Bacon watching him play with other puppies, they use their body weight to get the other
Yep,
dog down and on their back. Like they
yep,
put their paws up on their back,
yep.
they kind of lean into it.
Where they put their head on their shoulders and drive.
Yes.
But see, those are natural techniques that's presentation training. Those are natural techniques that dogs use with dogs that get voided when a human gets involved. When a human gets involved, they try to shortcut or they try to use trick mechanisms. Trick mechanisms like teaching a dog to sit by holding a treat over its head. Well, treats fail you. When you take a treat and you drag it down to the ground and you point down to the ground, guess what? Now you end up teaching your dog that you have to have a treat in your hand in order for the dog to follow that response. Problem is with treats, especially when it comes to hunting dogs, is that a prey or a prey response will override any type of treat that you have.
That's true. Interesting. Well, that's really, really good advice. I'm definitely going to use that little tip with Bacon too here and see if I can get him to learn how to lay down. Another thing I know that is a big topic when it comes to puppies is potty training. And many times I believe, a lot of the mistakes are mistakes of the humans and not keeping the dog on a schedule and things like that. But do you have tips in general with potty training and what to expect?
The first tip I start out with when I'm talking to a person about potty training is every single time that your puppy gets up from a nap, which they usually sleep a lot, take them directly outside to their restroom. When they get up from a nap, after they've eaten, after they've had consumed water, you take them directly outside. If you're not able to supervise, kennelize them. What happens is when you kennelize that puppy and you take him out of that kennel and take him outside, it gives you the capabilities of taking them to a designated area to go to the restroom at. It gives you the ability to take grass or sod or pine shavings. I use pine shavings to train my young dogs to go on because it allows me to take a handful of pine shavings and go anywhere in the country and throw it on the ground and tell my dog, go potty, and they'll be able to go because I do a lot of building for demo type things, and sometimes you just get a parking lot. So if you have some pine shavings, you can tell them to go and they'll go. But what you're doing is you're scheduling. By doing that, it's allowing you to facilitate learning what your dog's individual schedule is. Because the schedule that they had with their mother, as the mother cleaned them to make them go to the bathroom, you have to figure out if the breeder that you got the puppy from put them on a feeding and watering schedule, it helps you potty train your dog. So if you look at feeding and watering scheduling, helps you potty training as well. So you have in the morning, they're going to have to go to the bathroom as soon as they get up and wake up. Right after you feed them and water them, they're going to have to go out to the bathroom. Then you can play with them, and after they've played, you take them out immediately after you get done playing with them and let them go to the bathroom. What you're doing is by letting them out that often, is you're voiding their urinary tract and their bowels, so therefore they no longer have anything to go. You're also teaching them when you take them outside to do that. And when you're saying, as they're going, when they're naturally going outside in a place that you want them to go, give it a command word, go potty, get busy, hurry up. You can use command words that trigger that response as well. So one of the keys is scheduling your feeding and watering. Don't let them have freestanding water at this age, because every single time that they go over there to the bowl and sneak over to drink, they're going to have to go right outside to go to the bathroom. After they get up from a nap, you take them out. After they play, you take them out. And after you come out of a kennel, you take them out. And a lot of times what I'll do with the young dog is I'll give them their playtime. They go to the bathroom, come back in from playtime, back in from going to the restroom. I put them in the kennel, let them rest for a few hours, and then take them out again.
I will jump in though and say one thing that is really great that you had mentioned is when you're teaching or training potty training is to have a command while they're in the act of going potty when they're puppies, because it does come in handy. For instance, if you're taking your dog into the vet and you need them to go potty before you go in, when they actually know what the command means, that they have a job to do is use the restroom, it comes in very, very handy. And I did that with Bacon 1 and I'm doing that with Bacon 2. And when he's in the act of going potty, I actually say the command over and over and over again. And then I say, good boy, because it is down the line super helpful with that. And go ahead.
We do a lot of dog shows, and when we are out and about and you're getting ready to go in the ring, you have to be able to make sure that that dog is done so. And there's some events that we do that an animal would be disqualified if they do that in the building. So, or if we go to do it, if we get to go back into schools and do things like that again. And then the service dogs that we train too as well have to be able to go to the restroom on command, so that one, it makes them more comfortable in the things that they do day to day. Plus, you always know that you have, you're going out on a trip and you stop at the rest stop, everybody goes, well, the dog's got to go too.
I'm going to take a quick break here to thank our sponsors of the podcast, Connecticut Water. I've been a drinker of Connecticut water for years now, and I have to tell you, I can't live without it. There's no need for plastic water bottles. It reduces plastic water bottle waste. It's good for the environment. Also, it uses zero electricity in your house, ladies and gentlemen. If you're looking for great tasting and clean water, Connecticut is your go-to. Also, I want to thank North Dakota Tourism. If you want to experience world-class hunting in North Dakota, visit legendarynd.com. Ringneck pheasant counts are up this year in 2020, up 15% in fact. So visit legendarynd.com for more information. Let's talk about really quickly crate training. Some puppies, when you first get them home, of course, they will throw a little temper tantrum in the crate. And there's a lot of people that cave to that, or they don't know how to really get their dog to calm down in the crate. And they become overwhelmed. And then as adults, they continue to panic when they go in the crate because they were not really, told or trained on how to relax and be calm. And this is kind of your den and your space. Do you have any tips on that?
Sure. You know what? I crate train all the time. Every single dog that we get in for boarding and training, we do a lot of obedience type stuff for younger dogs as well. We crate train every single one of them that comes in, whether they have ever been in a crate before, whether they be crazy or obnoxious in a crate. I take them to go through the process of putting them in a crate, but here's how I start them. I will take them and put them in the crate, and then within 15 minutes, take them out of the crate. One of the ways a person can gauge that at home when they get their first puppy is, get that puppy, you have it sitting on your lap having fun, you put a crate by the side of the couch or the chair, and at the first commercial, you put the dog in the crate. Next commercial, you take the dog out of the crate. Next commercial, you put the dog in the crate. What you're showing them is that the young dog is going to get out of the crate. They don't want to be locked away forever. And it's teaching them that that's their den. The other side of the coin, too, is as you get that young dog home, let their first water receiving be within the crate. They're thirsty. They sit there. They might spill it. But let them have water in the crate, and then you can let them have their food in the crate. So their safe zone where they get their meal and water will be from the crate. What it does is it allows them to picture that crate as a den and not a restriction. Most dogs have the anxiety because the pack leaves them in the den, and the average household only puts the dog in the kennel when they're getting ready to leave. Well, that puts a lot of stress on the young dog. If you take a young dog and you get him home and you do the commercial in, commercial out, commercial in. It allows them to be desensitized that you're leaving them because one, they see you outside the kennel. Two, you're not leaving and going anywhere. And usually within a day and a half to 2 days of doing that procedure, you won't have a dog that's worried about the kennel crate at all. So if you feed and water them within the kennel when you first get them, and if you do the 15 minutes in, 15 minutes out, and then at night you just leave them in there, they will develop a security within the kennel. The other side of the coin is that young puppy, that first night that might be a screamer, you take the kennel, you put it in the garage, put a blanket over it, and let them cry themselves
That's right, to sleep.
to sleep. Because once you get over the second day, if they do that twice, you won't have a problem with them wanting to do it. But a lot of times people will go and they will take them out when they're crying. So the dog is physically training the owner that if I cry and make obnoxious noise, they're going to let me out.
That's
In
right.
the wild, the mother would retaliate against that puppy making noise in the den, because what happens is it puts the puppy in danger to predators. So the mother would go and scold the puppy and bite them and probably shake them a little bit for making any type of noise within the den. So humans aren't willing to do that, so they have to go through the process of just developing a tolerance for being in the kennel.
Very good advice. Yes. Crate training is so important for so many reasons, including potty training. And also, if you don't have time to keep an eye on your dog, to making sure, puppies pick up everything, including electrical cords and everything else in their mouth. And if you don't have time to keep your eyes on the puppy, they do enjoy relaxing and taking a nap in their crate. And so that is really, really good advice on.
If you can't supervise, kennelize.
So true. So true. Also, another thing I wanted to touch base here quickly is on puppy socialization. And now with COVID and people quarantining, of course, and keeping social distance and things like that, I've been hearing puppy owners, and me included, that it's a little bit more challenging to find places or where puppies can socialize with other puppies, because that's also important part of development, is it not?
Yes and no. I have personally been to game fair for years, and my dogs have the least amount of socialization to other puppies and dogs, but a high level of training. So when I say that another dog's okay, they know another dog's okay. So the doggy part type things aren't always necessary for all dogs, but you have to understand your own personal dog. So puppy socialization is a very good human interaction policy. But the hard part about it is most dogs don't care about other dogs. They care about their pack. And so when you look at their pack being you, husband or wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, brothers and sisters, those are their pack. The other ones are just strangers. And if you go down to a dog park and watch dogs play, and I'm going to have to do this again and take a video of watching the hierarchy struggle at a dog park.
Oh, yes.
And most of it's never play. And dogs don't play in general. And you look at even the best dogs, if you don't hunt them together, they don't like to work together. But, and you can't tell them that this isn't a part of your party. Some dogs like other dogs and some dogs don't. But the socialization side is more on their training side. If you're around, for example, if I have the interaction or when I have the interaction of other dogs, I have my dog do obedience and a lot of obedience work with them versus the dogs trying to train the other dogs to do something. That way they're acceptive to other dogs, but unless that dog is part of my pack, and even if I go hunting with the person's dog, my dog's with me and it's not with the other dog. And if to teach them to be cordial is part of your training process.
Ah, very good tip. Yes, dog parks are a love-hate relationship for those people that are serious with obedience, because boy, do you see a lot of behavior coming out of dog parks where your dogs can pick up bad habits, actually. Even though they're running around and burning energy. I've seen some bad habits of dogs that have picked up bad habits just from spending a lot of time in dog parks. So I know that's a love-hate relationship for some people.
Well, the hard part about it is they're not picking up bad habits. They're trained to be they're trained they're trained in the hierarchy. When we bring a dog home as a domesticated animal, they don't have a hierarchy in our human world. They take it, or you give it, or they take it, whatever the hierarchy is. When they go to a dog park, you might have a dog that is a growler or biter or engages that, and all of a sudden it turns it on in your dog, and now your dog is being trained or taught by another dog that this is how we're supposed to behave. And you can't tell them that that's not supposed to happen, because dog on dog communication is totally different than human to dog communication.
Very true. All right, we're going to take another quick break just to thank our sponsors. We'd love to also thank the Minnesota DNR. Minnesota's wildlife management areas are a vast array of lands across all of Minnesota. These 1,444, they're going to call them WMAs. Minnesota's wildlife management areas are valued for wildlife and Minnesotans' outdoor recreation opportunities. They maintain hunter walking trails, they plant food plots for wildlife, and develop acres and acres of prairie and grasslands. To find out more, visit Minnesota Wildlife Management Area. Go to www.mndnr.gov/WMAS. Also, want to thank Star Bank.
Hi there, Ron Shera here for Star Bank. If you're putting your money into mega banks down the street, who knows where that money's being used? It's time to make the switch. Bank locally. Keep your money local with a community bank that actually cares about you, your family, your business, and your goals. Check out the bank we use at Minnesota Bound. Try Minnesota's own Star Bank. You can find them online at starbank.net. When you call Star Bank, you actually hear a real living person answering the phone. Star Bank has 10 convenient locations around Minnesota to serve you and all the mobile banking products that you need to manage your money. Check out all that Star Bank has to offer at starbank.net.
So do you have any, speaking of hunting dogs, and we've had a lot of hunters, of course, that listen to the Minnesota Bound podcast, do you have tips for prepping young dogs for, their first experience in the field, as far as any sort of training tips?
Most definitely. One of the things that I tell most hunting guys to do, I said, the first thing that you teach your dog when you want to hunt it is the come command. You don't worry about retrieve. You don't worry about scent, because most of the time the scent is something that they'll pick up easy. But teach them the come command, whether you reel them in to bring presentation-wise to you, and then you start working your, even at that puppy stage, when they go out to chase a sock that you throw it out there and they're bringing it back, you don't give them the freedom to not come to you at the very beginning. A lot of mistakes are made when a person walks into the backyard and they take a bumper and they toss it for that puppy, and they keep tossing it and keep tossing it, and then dog gets tired and they grab the bumper and they walk away with it. That particular puppy is going to be a problem from that point forward, because they have taught it to not come when it chooses not to.
So, very good.
Like, you look at, and even when it comes to, if you have a retriever, I tell a person, you take your young puppy, it just got home. You take a piece of stick. You take that puppy and you put his little bum on the sit position. You take its mouth, you open up its jaw, roll the stick in its mouth, you say, fetch, roll the stick back out as one step. Roll the stick in his mouth. As it's in there, you say hold. When it goes to spit it out, you say drop. You're already teaching your fetch command on that young dog. And you can build that to do whatever it wants. If the dog doesn't like to pick up a stick, you go get a milk bone, something that the dog likes. You roll that in its mouth. It's licking it. It likes it. Make it drop it, and then you can give it to it. Because what you're capitalizing on that young dog is its prey instinct to hunt. And all you're doing is stepping in between the hunt, find, and kill for them to bring it back to you. So, one, you start your come command first. You start hand working your retrieving command just at the very basic of what to do with your mouth. If it's a pointing dog, you take and work your come command, and then you start your whoa or stand stay command, and you're making these all command words. So now when you engage the bumper or you engage a scented item, you have a command word with that young dog that when you go whoa and it's smelling that bird, you're going whoa, and it's going, okay, am I supposed to stand here? Or you're going fetch, and you're now tossing it and having them engage in that movement. It's easier for you to have the communication so your dog doesn't confuse what the activity is, and then you can build on it.
Very cool. Yes, the come command is so important because, obviously numerous reasons of one, you don't want your dog to get too far ahead of you and start flushing birds where they're out of shooting range. Two, if your dog sees a deer or something and all of a sudden it's crossing a busy road, it's also a dangerous situation. So that command is so important. And how many times have we been out there where we've heard owners just yelling at their dog and they are miles out and they're just screaming and hollering and that makes for a really good laugh and you're going to get teased. So that command is definitely super important. I can understand how that could happen, just throwing a bumper around or a ball or frisbee when they're puppies and letting them just run all over the place and not really bringing it back to you would start that habit of just running wherever they please. So that's a really, really good tip that you gave. I like that.
The other hard part about teaching a young dog when it comes to field trials or field training or field hunting of any type is, as a owner, you have to take the ego out of it. You can't go into training your puppy and go, well, I told you to do this, so why aren't you doing it? The formula that I always give to a person is you give a puppy 1,000 presentations of what you want them to do for them to accomplish it one time off leash on their own. What happens is by the time you get to about 800 repetitions, the dog's doing it extremely well. You get to that 1,000, the dog knows what you're asking it to do. So and it's easy to chart, and you can get to 1,000 repetitions in less than a month. It's easy to do, but what happens is you build the line of communication with your dog. So when that deer does pop up when you're hunting, and you say no, come, the dog goes, oh, I'm not supposed to run after that prey. Or you say no, fetch, and the dog goes, oh, I'm still supposed to go get that even though I can't see it. And then you can teach them to work their nose. So there's little building blocks that you can use by teaching the dog early, but giving your commands early. I have a client just recently who, his dog's giving him difficulty. And I said, well, did you start teaching your dog to quarter, a couple of months ago? Well, no, I thought that was bogus. I said, okay, you thought that was bogus. And now, and now you're calling me and telling me that your dog is taking out 1,000 yards and not willing to work in front of you. Remember when I said teach it to quarter? Don't let it do it on its own, because doing it on its own does not include you. So now when you say hup or you need to direct your dog, it doesn't take that direction because it's not including you. So a lot of your interaction, even if you're running a flushing dog, you want to teach them that hup command to quarter in front of you, so therefore you have that command. Hup, you have that command to use when you need it. Come, you have that command to use when you need it. Fetch, you have that command to use when you need it. Here, you have that command to use when you need it. Come when that combine is going across the field and you don't want your dog to go anywhere near it, or you're coming up to a road and you don't know the road and you see the dust in the distance and you don't want your dog to cross the road. So you have to have those commands when you train those commands early and often so that you have them to fall back on when you need them. It also allows you to use your e-collar type training less because your dog has a better understanding.
Absolutely. Well, Cartrell, this has been amazing, and we could go on. We're going to have to do more podcasts on dog training because I know we are just not even the tip of the iceberg right now with the things that we talked about in the past 30 minutes. So I'd love to have you on again to continue our conversation on training tips, from puppy to full-grown adults, retrievers, what have you. Sure. And right now, I want to make sure that people know where they can find you, because I heard you're doing Zoom dog training classes, which is so fun. So if they want to find you for some either, in-house training or Zoom dog training classes, where can they find you?
They can find us at 651-398-5766. Big D's Dog Training and Services.com is the website. We're involved in from everything from keeping a dog from having to go to court because it might have bit somebody to potty training. And small dogs, small to tall, we train them all. So Big D's Dog Training and Services.com is the fastest way. And my telephone number, 651-398-5766. And we do an awful lot of action dog Zoom stuff now, too.
Yes. And we need to do a podcast just on that. An action dog, ladies and gentlemen, is a new fun doggy sport where you can train your dog to find your reading glasses, your remote control, your car keys, anything basically you have a tendency to lose in your house. I have a tendency to lose all those things. So, and it's a fun game for the dog, and it's actually really easy to do. So we'll do a different podcast on the Action Dog Association, which you founded and started. And I mean, you're kind of the do-all in the dog training world. I also know that you have classes for first aid for dogs in the field, which is important with barbed wire and everything else out there. So Cartrell with Big D's Dog Training is the go-to guy if you want to have your dog trained, or if you have any further questions and want to take some classes. He's the guy to see. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. We will definitely.
Thank you for having me, Laura. It's
yes.
always good to participate in some of these fun events with you.
Oh, I know. I mean, we go back years, and I'm bummed that I won't see you at Game Fair this year. Next year, though, we'll be back at it, I hope.
Oh, we will. We'll hit it hard.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Cartrell, for joining us, and we will continue our conversation down the line here on more dog training tips. That's a wrap for the Minnesota Bound podcast for today, the stories behind the stories. Make sure you tune in next week. And I also want to thank our sponsors, Connecticut, Minnesota DNR, North Dakota Tourism, and lastly, Star Bank.